You at the corner office today. How did you get there?
Well, I wish I could say to you, it's always clear how you're going to get somewhere. But
Yeah.
it's always a journey. Because, like I said, having been a diplomat, I never thought I'll end up sort of like more on the commercial side of the business, as it were.
Yeah.
But in terms of really, really what keeps one awake, it's really the one part of it is about the volatility in the supply chains and the unpredictability of where things are really going to land.
The Iran-Israel war, how much of an impact is it for Shell?
Yeah, I think I can speak for, sort of like Shell downstream South Africa. Because if you think about our business setup, we are a net importer of a refined product or refined diesel, petrol, and others. So when you have a war and then you have the straits closed, essentially, that.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Clock.
How do you deal with stress? How do you handle that?
Coping mechanism that I have is I go for a run.
Manage stress by obviously being moments like this. Directly saying I'm going off the clock.
Just even a night out.
I'm listening to my favorite music. I go into one of the studios at the gym and I dance.
Sip cocktails and rest and just do nothing.
I ground myself spiritually.
The right amount of stress is good.
Welcome to Off the Clock. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and even comment. Aliwani, welcome to Off the Clock. Off the Clock is not about us. It's about the guest. And normally what we do here at Off the Clock is we like the guests to introduce themselves the way they like. So give yourself a grand entrance. Who are you?
Well, thanks, Peter, for having me.
Yeah.
I'm Arwani Musaisi, and the current day job I do, I'm the country chair of Shell downstream South Africa. But at heart, I'm someone who grew up in rural Limpopo, and yeah, that's me.
It's very, very similar in a way to me. I sometimes often introduce myself as that in my book, Winning in Africa. So, chairman of Shell, that sounds a big name, right? You've spent the whole time chairing discussions like a referee in a boxing match, or what do you really do on a day-to-day?
Oh, man. Well, it's not referee or boxing, but it's definitely lots and lots of meetings, really. And it's really about making sure that the Shell businesses in South Africa are running the way they should be running, and having a lot of focus on the internal stuff of, getting the business right, but also a very big role on the external side of the business about, how we position the Shell business in country, how we engage with communities and the stakeholders beyond just the office, how we work with our business partners like our retailers and the service champions who work in our retail sites.
Okay. We'll come back to that a little bit later. What I think is very important for me is to know you a little bit more. You're very high level in the way you introduce yourself, like chair of Shell, finish. You're married with kids?
No, I'm not married.
You're not married?
But I do have 2 kids, yeah.
Okay.
A daughter and a son.
How old?
23 and 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're quite grown.
You staying with them?
Yeah, I stay with them. Yeah.
Okay.
And I enjoy that much. Yeah.
And how do you kind of spend the time with them off the clock? What do you guys do? You just watch TV, watch Arsenal, or what do you do?
Also, life is kind of like change, I think when they were younger, young kids tend to have a lot of time for you. You could spend a lot of time with them, you could have lunches, you could have dinners, you could sit together a whole lot more. Now it's kind of like to have to plan spending time. I find sometimes we spend more time if we're on the road going somewhere. So we have a 4-hour journey. That would be probably one of the days when we've spent so much more time. But on an ordinary day, it's more about, getting back from work, and you probably, would sit around the table for a bit and chat about, how the day has been, what's happening and all that.
And they find you boring. They leave out. Go into
Well,
their rooms.
yeah. At some point, they'll find me boring, or the game will be calling for my son to go back to his room and go and play his PlayStation or study and other things. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, tell me a little bit about where you came from. You said, rural Limpopo. It's kind of very high level.
Yeah.
Whereabouts? The only child in the family. Spare me some details.
Yeah, sure. Actually born and raised in a very small village called Masete Village.
Okay.
That's somewhere, say 40 k's from Lois Richard.
Okay.
I'm one of 5 children.
Whereabouts?
I'll say my parents had a formula. We often laugh because I have an older sister and I'm child number 2. So, and then I have a younger sister after me, then my younger brother, then the youngest in the family. So I said they had a formula. It's almost like they had a girl, a boy, a girl, and a boy, and then the last one is a girl. So I think if they kept going, probably we would have another boy.
6.
Yeah, so it would have been 6, but it's 5 of us.
They decided to stop.
So yeah, they decided to stop at that point. But I grew up in a village, essentially, almost in the middle of nowhere, and went to the University of Venda, did studied economics undergrad, and after that I joined the Department of Foreign Affairs back then, or DECO these days, as a grad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's why I started working, and I spent a good time of my life, around about 12 years at DECO, and it was probably one of the best things I ever did for myself in terms
Working at DECO.
Working at DECO,
Understanding the diplomacy world.
yeah.
Is that what you always wanted to be when you're small? Because most of us kind of grow up wanting to be something and end up being something else.
I'm definitely one of those people who ended up doing what I didn't think I would do. Because in my university days, studying economics, actually, if you had asked me, I was always fascinated by the Reserve Bank and fiscal policy, monetary policy type of stuff. I would have said I wanted to work at the Reserve Bank.
Did you think they have money there?
No, it was more about the economics. I mean, I really enjoyed my economics studies and thought that's where I'll end up at. And I sort of like became kind of like an accidental diplomat. And it was 2 things that drove that. The one part was, at the time, there was a lot of emphasis around economic diplomacy. And for the first time, DECO was now moving towards kind of like getting economic students in, whereas typically it would be your international relations and politics students. But the other element of it was my older sister had actually worked at DECO before, prior to me going there.
It's much more easy.
So it was kind of like
it's a pathfinder.
she had kind of like hyped it up and talked about how it was like and all that. So when I saw the ad, I kind of like applied there.
Couldn't resist.
Got in, yeah.
And obviously, I mean, you meandered around. You had the corner office today. How did you get there?
Well, I wish I could say to you, it's always clear how you're going to get somewhere. But it's always a journey. Because, like I said, I mean, having been a diplomat, I never thought I'll end up sort of like more on the commercial side of the business, as it were. So I left DECO and then I joined Johnson & Johnson.
Okay. That's a real world.
Yeah. So, and I joined there more in the government relations or government affairs in Johnson & Johnson.
Just leaning more into your
into my kind of stakeholder engagement, kind of like diplomacy type of work. But it also then exposed me to the different side of business because I joined more on a little bit more senior, and then I end up being part of management, and then you kind of get to see how the business is run. And later on, I was also in the board of some of the businesses there. 3 different businesses, and then you're part of management team. You get to see the business strategies. You get to deal with, the direction of the business, also being in the board. But I think the kind of like different thing or game changer for me was, in a way, I said it was just about COVID. When COVID hit,
that was.
And J&J was then, having a COVID vaccine program at the time. I found myself, with the responsibility of essentially negotiating with the South African government for the vaccine.
The diplomacy.
Diplomacy deal, so to speak. But because it was not what would have been a typical traditional business. I ended up sort of like running with that, even post just signing that, and then you start sort of like running the business in a way, and then dealing with all the complexities around the supply chain and other issues.
Yeah.
And post that, I think I then got promoted, and then I was looking after Sub-Saharan Africa, J&J, good company that I worked for. And then sort of like then the opportunity to move to Shell then came through. And I then joined Shell more on the corporate relations side of things again. But fast forward, my predecessor sort of like left the company, and then I was then asked to step up.
So you're working for Bonamale?
No, Hloni Pizwe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that after Bonang.
That's after Bonang. And then I was asked to step up, and at first I was like, me? I'm a stakeholder relations guy. Why would you want me to move there? And yeah, but with time, you get to see your way and get comfortable about what it is all about and what you would like to really achieve.
So what keeps you awake at night? I'm sure that's the petrol price, the growth. What keeps you awake?
Yeah, definitely at the moment it's been the war, the conflict in Iran.
Yeah.
Because if you rewind just a couple of months ago and you had asked me this question in February, I probably would have said something different. And the outlook of how one thought the year was going to look like, you had a very clear business plan. It's completely changed.
Yeah.
But in terms of really, really what keeps one awake is really one part of it is about the volatility in the supply chains and the unpredictability of where things are really going to land. Because for us, you are bringing in product, and a lot has changed in that supply chain dynamic. The second part is really the fact that we're in a regulated market.
Yeah.
So you kind of like sell the product, and you have a lag between, sort of like what happens in the global markets and the prices that people are actually paying at the pump. And then that then leads to, you are having to think about and worry about how you're managing, your working capital. And overnight, for the whole industry, has been, we've seen significant pressure on working capital, especially, because overnight you're now paying more for the same amount of product.
Yeah.
You need to bring in, and then it's also the recovery period is there, and obviously when it lands with customers and the pressures that the consumers are then starting to feel, it means then you're also having to look at, what does that do to your demand forecasts and things like those.
Yeah, I feel that pressure at the pump. Because
So
of
do
you, I'm sure you got allowed a couple of 10 tanks a month that is flowing free as a pack. But the question I wanted to ask you is the Iran-Israel war, how much of an impact is it for Shell, given the geography is there, Shell is there, or is kind of because of the origin of oil, it kind of originate from few places in the world, and everybody has to get their share.
Yeah, I think I can speak for, sort of like Shell downstream South Africa. Because if you think about our business setup, we are a net importer of a refined product or refined diesel, petrol, and others. So when you have a war and then you have the straits closed, essentially, that then has an impact on your day-to-day operations. Because now you kind of like have to find new sources of product. And then the cost also then escalating in the global markets. That then translates into, pressure for you as a business. But being part of Shell is where being part of the global Shell network is where you kind of can then be able to leverage the network, in that you can find other sources, so to speak. But everybody's facing the same kind of constraints, because even for Shell, you're still going to face the the fact that 20% of the
constrained.
supply is gone. So
Constrained, yeah.
yeah, and so even if you are looking at some of the sources, everybody's competing or trying to get product from the same sources.
Yeah. And just in terms of exactly the same period, same problem rather, how do you, do you see any light at the end of the tunnel on the horizon that things will get better sooner? Trump tells us every day that it's going to be okay, but it's not okay for me.
Well, I think that's one of the most difficult questions because it's very difficult to predict where things are going to go. Because even if you look at the last 8 weeks or 10 weeks that we've been living through this, it's kind of been, we all just don't know where things are going to go, where things are going to land. And I mean, if, the optimist in me, or let's just say, the optimist in me says at some point things are going to normalize one way or the other. But the how is the part that I don't have the crystal ball to can say to you, what, I think in 6 months, in 10 months, things are going to be okay. But as you know, with global markets and global shocks, at a certain point, things do normalize and find a new equilibrium.
Yeah. So, with all that in mind, I've been asking you what keeps you awake at night. And you kind of been very high level as well with it. How many hours of sleep do you do a night with your job?
Well, I do my best to sleep, actually. I think I do get my normal 7-8 hours on normal times.
Okay.
Except for the times when, things are a little bit crazy. But generally, I do get my normal.
What do you mean things are a little bit crazy? Like too much work that you can't
sleep? You do have moments where things do get hectic. And you have to put in a lot more hours than ordinarily you would, as it were.
So 6-8 hours of sleep.
6-8 hours of sleep. Generally, I do get those, yeah.
Do you kind of have a very good life outside Shell? Like this work-life balance? Do you leave work at work or you carry it everywhere you go? When you're driving back to Limpopo, you see a Shell, like get excited, stop there, start working.
So I think on the last part of your question, I think I tend to not work when I'm not working. Okay. So for me, it's very easy to can get into a Shell on my way to Limpopo and not even make it known that I'm there at a Shell. I'll go in as a normal customer, fill up if I need to fill up, go to the shop, get what I need, or go to the bathroom and get out and continue on my journey. But obviously, the eye will still tell you, what you see that's going right, what's going wrong, and whatever, because the mind is the mind. But overall, in terms of life, I think you talk about work-life balance. I think I do my best with that, in the sense that, no, I do my best in that because I accept that, I have a role that is demanding and that's often stressful. So there are things that you kind of like have to look at and say, how do I actually keep myself sane with all of that? And so, for instance, I'm very conscious about my exercise. It's one of the things that, like 3-4 times a week, I need to hit the gym. If nothing else, just manage the stress and make sure that things are good.
Under control.
And in control. As I said, and one of the things that center me is really family, my kids and, my brother, siblings, family, and all that. I do spend a lot of time, with family.
Extended family.
Extended family and, friends. And yeah.
So, you maybe can share a moment when you got pulled into work when you're not, like you get to that Shell, your intention was to get your tank filled up, a refreshment, relieve yourself in the bathroom and just stretch. But then something was not just right and pulled you into the whole thing before you know, phoning somebody to fix it.
Oh, one of those that I went to fill up once, and there were guys actually working on the canopy at the top. And for us, safety is one of those things that are the core of everything we do. We want people to go home safe every day. And one of our rules when you work at heights is you always have to have your harness on. So I saw these guys, painting the canopy, really having a very great time. But actually, the harnesses were on, and part of what we say to our people at Shell is that we have this thing called stop work authority. That no matter who you are in the company, if you see someone doing something that's unsafe, you actually have to intervene and get the work to stop. And so I actually approach them and say, stop what you're doing, because what you're doing is not safe.
Do they know you?
They didn't even know who I was. And I didn't even introduce myself as such.
But they stopped anyway.
Yeah. I actually even asked to speak to the supervisor. And yeah.
Interesting. And just tell me a little bit about the Shell model. Are you guys kind of 100% franchised? Meaning all the stations, fuel stations, are owned out by individuals or franchisees, or it's a bit of a mix?
We have a bit of a mix in our network. Majority of our sites are what we call company owned, but retailer operated. So we don't operate any of the sites. We might own them, we might own the assets and all that, but the retailer will then operate. And then you also have what is called dealer-owned sites, which will mean maybe Peter decides to develop a site and also then be the operator, and then we enter into a partnership with them to then make it a Shell site and supply the Shell products and bring the know-how of Shell into that system.
So how does that look like, where you got a dealer operator? I mean, the dealer comes and operates and take a cut. You kind of pay for everything. How does that work?
Essentially, you kind of like enter more into a supply agreement with the dealer.
Okay.
And, we'll then guarantee that we'll supply them the Shell products and then provide the Shell branding, but also means that they also have to commit to the Shell standards of working. So, for instance, I spoke about safety to be one of the requirements that we require them to operate by our standards. We talked about, for instance, the branding stuff, the business operations, and we bring the know-how, because that's one of the things that we bring to it, the know-how to actually operate a site very successfully. But, we're in a business that's highly regulated. So when you're a dealer, because you own the assets, there'll be amounts that you're able to recover, cents per liter, as per regulations, based on the assets that you've put in.
For what is allowed.
What is allowed, yeah.
Yeah. So upfront cost to set up a petrol station that pumps about 700 to 800 liters a month.
Goodness me, Peter.
I warned you.
Yeah, you did warn me that you'll be hard hitting on some of this stuff. No, I think I would say you probably have to be looking at 40, 50 bar.
50 bar?
Yeah, if you're going to go that high. Yeah.
Payback period?
Well, if you do very well, depending on how much you're going to pump, payback periods, you can do 3 to 5 years and you should be fine.
Okay, but it's just fine. You won't retire, just fine.
Wow.
Continue to work.
We're in the cents business. We actually make cents per liter. We don't make
but if you're pumping $1 million, that's a lot of cents, right?
Yeah, that's why I said, if you're pumping $1 million, then you should be able to get there sooner rather than later.
Turn around in 3 years.
Yeah.
You guys, everybody, these days is quite fashionable. Oil companies got a retail partner. I see Engine has got a Woolies. You guys have what, Spa?
Yeah.
And how's that relationship like? Love and hate, or?
It's a very good partnership that we have with Spa.
Unpack it.
Yeah, because maybe I'll start from the beginning. Shell, we're actually the first company in South Africa before partnership, to do convenience retailing.
Oh, okay.
So along, everybody was just about petrol, diesel. We went, you want to have convenience retailing.
Including
in
food
the food court. Yeah, food court. Yeah. You can be able to buy snacks. Whereas in the past was you stopped, you bought petrol, and then you moved. And, as the evolution of the business and as things have evolved, you now got to a place where you realize people see, forecourts or garages in a very different way than how they used to see it. Some of it is still the same. It's a place of safety. People transit via the stations. Now it's also about a place of convenience. And it's also a place of coffee. So when people are coming back from work, a partnership like the partnership with a spa allows someone to come back from work, and instead of maybe running to a complex, then you can be able to buy whatever you need for the family as you go home. And you said, does the partnership work? It does, because it's about both partners understanding what we both bring to the table, and about the selection of exactly where you place the store. So, for instance, I mean, you always have to look at where's the location of the nearest spa versus where you are putting the spa in your forecourt.
So you don't.
And then it's synergies that you bring rather than tension to either networks.
But at the same time, I mean, most of those convenience stores at a filling station, they're open 24/7. Spas don't, most of them. So, back to what you said about the conveniency, people, you're filling up, but you can get spa stuff there, as opposed to multiple stops. You make one stop to get that. Tell me, just in terms of, you said you got a kind of a mix cocktail of ownership, corporate filling stations, the ones that are kind of a dealer run, and the ones that are operator run. You got kind of 3 models?
No, two. Just two, yeah.
Okay. Just unpack that.
So, what I say, company owned, like I said, company owned is where Shell owns the land, and owns the assets, meaning the tanks, the infrastructure that you then have. And then when the retailer comes through, essentially, is coming in where the infrastructure is already established, and is established by Shell. Then on the dealer owned is, I said, someone who goes out and build a site themselves.
From scratch. Okay.
And then, we come in to partner and then run, they run the site also on the other side, because like I said, we don't run sites directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so the business is almost like propco, opco. You got a real estate business that owns those sites.
Yeah.
And then the actual operators' sites where, the transactions happen either through a small food court or the convenience store or car wash or other convenience services that are offered there. Well, what I've seen, I mean, globally is an added product in the trucking side where truck drivers will stop and take a nap or proper sleep and then continue. Is obviously it goes by location, right?
Yeah.
In terms of where that makes sense, if you're on a highway or N1 or something. So that's kind of something that you build into the whole infrastructure, or it happens when it happens?
No, you kind of have to think about what typically would be called a truck stop. So there's a point at which when you design a site, you're thinking of it as more of a truck stop, where you will design that. For instance, if you look at your typical truck stop, you will tend to have a lot of parking space, because then your trucks are going to take.
They pay for it, or it's free?
A whole lot of it's free. They want to take a whole lot of space.
I hope that they fill up there.
Yeah, well, that's the hope that by providing that convenience that they then have of being able to park there, they should then be able to fill up on the other side. But like I said, it's not like you force them to say fill up,
But they do anyway.
But they do anyway.
You said you got 600 stations across the country.
Yeah.
Ambition is what, 1,000 filling station?
Oh, well, I'm not going to tell you what my ambition is at this point in time. I think for me, the ambition at the moment is really to be the best, forecourts that you have in the country and provide the best products. I'm not looking more at what is the number that I can get into. So the number is something you get into based on, where you see the real growth in the market. So for me, it's about the quality of where you are rather than how many sites we have across the network. It's really about if I find the right opportunity, the right area that will give the right kind of returns, that's where we'll go. Okay. It's not so much, a number that you're like, I want to be proud that I have so many. for us, it's always the pride of where we have a site. It should be a high impact kind of site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I feel better that you're not telling me the number because you don't want to tell me the number, but you don't have the number to tell me.
Yeah, I don't have the number for you. Definitely.
Which is good. So, and I said earlier when you got here that sometimes every industry is like so much. You think you know it until you really know.
Yeah.
Shell has got a nice yellow color, very attractive and warm. But just in terms of market share and ranking, where are you with your competitors?
I would say we are. So I mean, we use different benchmarks that you can look at.
Yeah.
So for instance,
AI will tell me, but
AI can still
hear from you.
AI can still tell you. One of the things that I'm proud of in terms of brand share.
Okay.
So for instance, if you had I told you about dealer sites.
Yeah.
So if you had a dealer site and it was a different brand, and you put in a Shell brand, literally you will see an uplift in volume.
Why?
Because of the value around the Shell brand, and also because of our premium products that we bring to the forecourt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many years you been in the land in South Africa? Because what you just told me sometimes goes with longevity, connection to the brand over many years, and like people see it and see connection because I grew up with my father stopping at a Shell and we buy ice cream I'm just so much connected to it. How many years you been in the country, in South Africa?
Over 120 years that Shell has been in South Africa. But I think, I get the connection. Like, I mean, I also grew up, my father would go to Shell and all that. But I think it's also about, what you do in the time, because you can have a great brand. You can have many years of being in a space, but it's really about over time, what do you continue to do to connect with the people and the communities of the country? Because brand can carry you, but it's also about what you do. But at the same time, I also say that the Shell brand, beyond just that we've been in South for such a long time, if you look at the global ranking of the Shell brand, you will see that it's one of the top brands in the world. And it will surprise you in terms of its ranking compared to many other brands that are there in the world.
So it's there.
It's top there. And you look also in different categories. You look at things like V-Power. V-Power is a brand. If I were to say to you, for any of our competitors, what is their brand of petrol or diesel, right? Performance diesel.
Yeah.
You might struggle to tell me what it is for different brands.
Yeah, I'm struggling because I gave up on diesel.
Yeah.
I tried the whole diesel engine. They were saying diesel is a little bit expensive, but you get a mileage on it.
Yeah.
And then what about the performance? I wasn't sure. I actually 2 cars before my car today was a diesel, and I was like, I'm gonna go far. When I was only going far, back to Limpopo, I was like, fill up and go and come back.
Yeah.
But I don't do that every day. When you drive in a town, you don't get as much. And when you drive in town and driving is your thing, you want performance now to get back to Hartford in a chilled way. So my knowledge of oil product is dangerous. So, I mean, just a little bit about but the economy, because the oil industry is kind of the heartbeat of the economy. We today feeling the price and the pain of the other day I filled up. I was like, wow, that's I don't want to come back here again. So it's like to fill up my tank was 1,800. It's like, this is too much. And you impact on a lot of sectors, right? Farming, and eventually the product and the cost just come up into the whole thing. You've studied economics, and So if you look at South Africa today, with the impact that your industry and the pain that is bringing, if you had any magic wand, any problem to solve, which one would that be?
If I had a magic wand, people who know me, they know that I'm very passionate about exploration of oil and gas in South Africa.
Okay.
Because I believe that there is potential. And if we were to find, oil and gas in South Africa, that would definitely be a game changer. I mean, you don't have to
That's a lot of gas, right?
Yeah, you don't have to be an economist to know that, economies that actually have oil and gas reserves and are able to actually extract that actually tend to do very well economically and all that. So for me, that would be the magic wand, that if we were to get to a point where we could explore for oil
But I
and gas.
believe there's a
and
lot
find-
of gas in the country.
Well, there is a lot of gas in the country, but I think that
Fracking is not allowed.
I think most of the questions in South Africa are really around commercial viability of what you have found. And it's still highly an unexplored country, especially offshore in South Africa. It's a country that is really very in the early stages.
Why?
One, because of a lot of, legal cases that come through when companies like Shell try to explore for oil and gas in the market.
Somebody stand in the way.
Well, I think, I want to say stand in the way. I think that there's two parts to it, at least from my perspective. There's the one part that says sometimes when we don't understand something, we tend to say is dangerous beyond what actually it is.
The value, the balance.
The balancing. So it is about really making sure that, so people go to extremes and say, actually you shouldn't be exploring for oil and gas. But at the same time, you are sitting in a space where still we're very dependent on oil and gas. You spoke about the impact on the economy, for instance.
That's big.
We're still highly
Huge.
dependent on that. Or they would say, it's so dangerous and dirty all the way, and not talk about, what are some of the safeguards that you can put in place to can be able to do it in a way that it is safer. You look at mining, for instance, because it's a well understood industry in South Africa. In a way, we are continuing to do mining in the country, and making sure that we still respect or put in place safeguards for, environmental stewardship and other things. And I think my hope, my magic wand is, if we're to get to a place where for oil and gas exploration, we can be clear on the safeguards that you put in place and then still be able to develop the sector. That will make me very happy.
Okay. So you've been around, long enough. Looking back, your career, and you've been blessed that you've been in different college sectors or industries, J&J, medical, now oil and gas, depending on where you are, and government. Any regrets, reflection points?
Well, I wouldn't call it so much regrets, Just think that in most things that you would do, there are always going to be moments where things are challenging, or you don't necessarily achieve what you set yourself to achieve and to get there, so to speak. I think for me, one of the kind of and it's a contradiction. For me, one of the regrets is that I love diplomacy so much, working in government. And at some point I thought, that's something that I'm going to do for a lifetime. I'd hope one day I'll be an ambassador and all that. But then, then you move on to something else different. Then in healthcare, I think there's stuff that I'm very proud about. Like, for instance, when we had a clinical study targeting healthcare professionals to get early access to the COVID vaccine, is something that, I'm very, very proud about. But one of the regrets I have then is actually how long it took us to get to a point where, we agreed on the path on how we're going to deal with COVID as a country at that point in time.
Yeah.
But that's also something beyond kind of my control, I guess.
Okay. And anybody, any person that you thought you should have apologized to but never got a chance to, looking back?
apologize to.
Yeah, for maybe ruffling their feathers and you know, or you know,
I don't. Nobody comes to mind where I'm like,
you
there's
want
this
some,
one person. You know,
you
I
want
need
a
to
few
go.
seconds
I
to
need to
jog,
go back and
you want a few
and
seconds to
think
jog your
about-
memory and
and ruffle feathers. I mean, I think I find that, you know, there's always space for you to be challenging,
yeah,
and I believe you have to be challenging, and you're always going to have to be challenging, especially if you are trying to achieve stuff. But I think it's always important to be challenging in a respectful manner, always.
What about your kids? I mean, you think you've always been the good father that you are and present all the time with them, and you didn't miss any step there?
No, I mean, I think with my kids, I'll probably say, you know, getting divorced from their mom is one of those things where, you know,
you robbed them, their mother.
Yeah, I mean, they have a very good relationship with their mother, by the way. But you know, you kind of sometimes in life you set yourself to say, you know, I want to have that nuclear family.
Yeah.
I want to raise my kids in this way and the other, but that doesn't work out that way, and then you kind of get to a place where it's more. Now you have to adapt to a new kind of setup, new reality
yeah.
that you get, and at first, you know, you don't. I think it was a little bit challenging to figure out, you know, how does this new reality really work for the kids and all that. And I think for, you know, regrets, you know, part of it was, you know, the time when, you know, when I separated from their mom, for instance, I spent a year being abroad and they were here. And I'm like, could have spent more time. And like a normal person, sometimes you sit and you think, perhaps do I travel a lot? Am I not home enough? And those are some of the questions that sometimes haunt you, because you kind of wonder, do I give them enough? Do I not give them enough? Or sometimes you feel, do I give them too much? You know, yeah, because there's those kind of moments. But there are also then moments that give comfort, you know. So when they show you, you know, the kind of human beings that they are and how they're developing, and you feel like, you know what, this moment makes me proud in a way.
Wow. Very interesting. It looks like you transitioned very well out of your divorce separation. Any lessons learned for, you know, people who may face that, you know, tomorrow, in terms of how?
I think probably two. I would say it's easier said than done. I mean, I think two that I would say. I mean, one, I would say I would never wish divorce on even my worst enemy, because it's one of the most difficult things that you would confront in life and have to deal with. It's actually very draining and very exhausting, because it's more or less like someone that you've lived with and you've shared a life with. Now all of a sudden, you know, you're on two different paths and you're diverging in terms of where you are. The other one is definitely the fact that you in retrospect, you can actually look back and realize that there's actually no challenge that is insurmountable. It's just that in a moment sometimes, when you are deep in it and you are emotionally invested in it, what you see is this can be resolved, you know, and all that. But
take a different direction.
But after, you know, you kind of heal and you sit back and you look at it and you're like, I could have given that a minute more. I could have given that time more. I could have found a different way, maybe a little bit more patience to it. Would have been better. But yeah, easier said than done.
That's powerful. Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think it's also personality driven as well. I've asked a lot of leaders this question before. So, you know, some of them are more emotional and more honest about it, and some own it to say, like, in the same way that you're saying that maybe patience could have saved things. There's always a third way. There's always her way, your way.
Yeah.
There's always another way that you can kind of all go to and still be together in the whole thing. And that's very important, you know. And lot of kind of lessons in life. I mean, to learn that, looking back, maybe I could have waited, 2 more months and cooled off and started again and build.
Yeah.
So, with all that in mind, I want to give you a moment to revenge yourself while you're still feeling that I was deep.
Oh my goodness! It's a much more hotter seat sitting on the other side and then having to throw some at you. So I guess the first one I'll ask you, which was hard hitting, was, for you, what are some of the places where you say some regrets that you have about certain moments?
I mean, I think for me, and I'm kind of self-correcting, is this podcast was born out of the fact that I felt that I was not spending more time with my family. And in a way of coming back to it was creating a platform with my kids so that we spend more time until the end, which is kind of solve that problem. I remember there was a time I was traveling so much, and then I came back overseas. I got this a lifetime platinum for SAA, which means you have to be platinum for 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
And then you get it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when I got it, I realized, damn, I was like really traveling quite a bit. And we went for shopping in Eastgate. And my son was like really using this and said, look, can I have this big toy, Dad, since you're not here most of the time? He was trying to use that to
Smart
kind
son.
of, reverse psychology on me and blackmail me. I'm like, damn. But this podcast is born out of me trying to, not to give back, because I refuse saying giving back, because when you give back, that means you've taken too much, but to correct something that is wrong with executives in terms of that balance. And I know there's no perfect balance, but leaving work at work and say, look, I'm not gonna, toggle in and out 24/7 was something that I, thought I messed up, and I'm self-correcting and fixing it. And I think I'm doing well with that, because I started very well connecting with my kids when they were really babies, changing nappies, looking after them. But once I started working in the corporate environment, I was like, not there. And plus, when you do MBA,
Oh, man.
2 years of hard labor, it's like,
Tell me about that.
it's like, I mean, I remember I told my wife that I'm going to do MBA. It's going to be tough. But, we're going to get financial freedom. I was just pitching and selling that story. Halfway, I was bringing the books in the bedroom, like, because you have to do like that speed reading to finish a textbook in like 3 months, like the thing, 600 pages. Like, go to bed. I was bringing the stuff in the bedroom and like books everywhere. I was just catching 4 hours of sleep. Like, any moment before you like sleep, you like want to read stuff fast. And she said, look, you need to talk. And I had to reconvince her, like, I'm just about to be there. And people have said, if you want to get to a divorce, do MBA, it will help you. And people have said that on this show, that working hard, doing MBA has cost them a lot in terms of a divorce. But I survived all that. And now, plus, I got this platform to make up.
Goodness me. I'd not realized that actually my divorce coincided with me doing my MBA. It's a very interesting way of looking at things. I'd never made that connection actually between the two in my mind, actually. That was right in the middle of me finishing my dissertation somewhere.
Damn.
Yeah, somewhere there.
So at least I helped you to find
I found something
the
there.
root cause.
Yeah. The other question I'll have for you would be, I'm going to leave one. Tell me there's a last one that I have for you. The other question.
Last one?
No. I've two more.
Okay.
So I'll have the last one. The last one will be lighthearted. Don't worry too much about it.
Okay.
I mean, I think, I guess most business leaders, right? Or let me say, sometimes when you read biographies, it tends to be, it can feel like, people plan things out very well and know exactly where they're gonna end up at. But sometimes it's not exactly that. So I wonder, for you, what has the journey been? Can you then say, it was more that you planned out everything in terms of your career, what you're going to do in executive leadership and all that, or how did you land there? I guess.
No, I mean, look, I look very convincing, smart and clever. It wasn't always like this. I
Yeah.
mean, I come from a big family of 10 kids. Even just from my family, it's a struggle. You need better social skills to get along with everybody, convince them. And also, I mean, I wasn't in your face and I wasn't highly ranked in the eyes of my parents. So to even self-promote and get that is quite hard. And all what I knew was I just wanted to be the best that I can be, and that's what I'm trying to give to my children. Um, I didn't know what, but I always wanted to make impact in life,
Yeah.
and that's why, true story, I wanted to be a fireman, like like help people make the difference. I remember making an attempt to go to a fire station in Boxburg. I like, can I be a fireman? And I realized it didn't work. If you know Boxburg, East Rand, it's the hardcore of racial South Africa. Um, but I didn't know what I wanted to be or do, but I just wanted to make the impact, and I'm glad that I've been able to do that. But what I learned along the way as well is you probably need a sponsor or somebody that you believe in or who believes in you. I had this biology and science teacher who just liked me and supported me, and it's like she was on my case, like you're going places, and you're my project, type of a thing. And I kind of took that kindly, and I benefited from that free coaching and advanced support, even when coaching was not in fashion then at high school. And but I was doing my own stuff. I mean, I wrote and directed drama at high school,
Okay.
and played it in other schools as well. And just that's what I wanted to do. But of course, my parents like, you want to play forever? This is not what you're gonna do, type of a thing. So no, I mean the answer is no. I haven't always figured out things. How you turn out to be, it's sometimes you are a product of life. Somebody was sitting on your chair saying their father was a gangster who became the most prolific pastor in the church. So you evolve with life and to serve.
Segue for me then, so what's next then for you? I mean, you're in the podcast now, and you've been a senior exec, and you know how it is like. So when you look ahead, again, you say, you never really know where you're gonna land. So, but we all tend to look forward and say, this is where I think I'm gonna land. So for you, where is that?
I mean, I don't know my next commercial assignment. People ask me this question all the time, and I tell them I'm sitting at crossroads.
Yeah.
I can very well go straight and continue with this executive role, or I turn right and do podcast, book. I'm working with a number of business schools. In fact, at the campus where you guys are, kind of just finished the accreditation process with Duke Corporate Education to guest lecture using my book as a cortex for leadership. Talking to Gibson Business School, Vets Business School, and Stellenbosch to do that. As I mean, I do have a foundation in the book to kind of share that framework that I, not a lot of people sit in classroom who have 20 plus years of executive battle scar on their bodies that have done this.
Yeah.
And these are the things that you need to look out for or fine tune here and there. So yeah, I kind of see myself wearing number of hats. depending on what is needed. That's the wisdom of having the experience and having been on the ground.
Right. The last one is very lighthearted. I mean, I know you're an Arsenal fan. I have to ask this. I came here as a Man U fan saying, I need to get him on this. After more than 2 decades of not winning, guys. So how is that feeling? And what kept you going for all these decades with Arsenal? I mean, you're the most resilient fans there is on earth.
So I think it's a very good question, actually. If my son was here, it was probably going to take another 30 minutes unpacking, because I indoctrinated my son to support Arsenal when he was small. But I also bought him jerseys for Brazil when I was traveling to Spain, to other places when he was small, and Barcelona. He ended up loving Barcelona, Arsenal. Arsenal was like a family team.
Yeah.
And down the line, he said, they're starting to lose. I'm going to Liverpool.
Okay.
It's like we had a big fallout there. But for me, I think I come from this old school that you don't change your loyalty because they're going through tough times.
Yeah.
Arsenal, I like the culture, the way they play, the philosophy of more on the talent side. They're big on, you can see today, the bench is always strong in terms of the talent that's coming. They played 2 under 17 or 16-year-olds in the first team, and that are really doing very well today. And I've liked that philosophy from Arsene Wenger, and I was lucky to have met him. I got a big picture with him hanged in the house. Actually, 2 big pictures that you see. When I first met Nelson Mandela, I took a picture on my birthday, and then Arsene Wenger. So I think I don't ever see myself leaving Arsenal. They may be relegated. And by the way, it's the one team that was never relegated. Since the league started in over 100 years ago, they've always stayed up.
Yeah.
Good luck to Spurs. I don't know.
It's a tough year.
where they're going. But the trophies are like the material things in life. Of course, it makes you feel better. But you think about Arsenal project with Arteta, we've been number 2, 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't believe in the process, we're always almost there. But because the team didn't want to spend the money to get the team that is big enough to compete into all that. Last year, Champions League were knocked out of their semi-finals.
Yeah.
This year, we're in the finals. I think we're going to win it. We'd love to win it. We'll see.
The first, yeah.
Yeah, the first. But I took the time to watch the 2006, where the first 5 minutes, and the red card at the goalkeeper. You see how corrupt the world was. I mean, and then Van Persie was also red carded. It's like the trophy was really just given to Barcelona, if you look into that. But water under the bridge. I think we got a chance now. We got the league in the back. Just improves my mood in a big way. And if we get the Champions League, I think we're going to be something else. And meanwhile, Man United is suffering, but at least you're on the comeback. Whether it's like the comeback before the comeback, we'll see. Time will tell. Because you guys had so many false starts. And I'm glad that Arsenal didn't go that route, the guys that you going on, where fire 5 coaches before you get going. I wish also Man City well, seeing that Pep Guardiola is leaving, because to build and anchor the team takes a lot of energy. And when the leader leaves, sometimes a lot of things fall apart.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, and good luck with Man United and Shell, of course.
Man United is my off the clock passion.